What if I told you that Earth just received a formal invitation from something that not even the brightest minds at NASA can fully explain? A signal so incredibly powerful that it effectively hijacked every single satellite on the entire planet. And here is the kicker. It wasn't even meant for us. Stay tuned for the duration, because what happens next will change how you perceive the universe forever. At precisely 3:47 in the early morning, the quiet hum of our planet's night sky was suddenly shattered by an energy pulse of impossible magnitude. Around the world, massive radio telescopes began picking up something no human had ever heard before. It was a transmission so powerful it drowned out the cosmic background radiation itself, overriding the natural static of the distant stars. But this wasn't just some random interference or a lost signal from deep space. It carried a clear structure. It carried a definite intention. If you are captivated by the profound mystery of 3I Atlas and want to see more mind-bending cosmic stories, enthusiastically smash that like button and let the universe know you are watching. Every single click helps significantly to keep the vital search for the unknown alive. What these sensitive instruments detected originally came from an object humanity thought it understood, 3I Atlas. The mysterious interstellar visitor was once believed to be merely observing and managing Earth, but tonight its fundamental purpose changed. It wasn't just managing anymore. It was broadcasting across every single band of the electromagnetic spectrum. Intended within those transmissions were specific coordinates not of Earth, but of destinations scattered across the wider galaxy. Invitation protocols, detailed planetary specifications, and deep space telemetry were all embedded in the stream. Every bit of data pointed to one chilling conclusion. 3I Atlas was calling something or someone out there, and the scale of its energy output defied everything our modern science could explain. As Moaku has often suggested regarding advanced civilizations, the signal strength dwarfed the most powerful transmitters ever built by human hands. It was as if the entire planet had been turned into a massive relay beacon, sending a message across the stars. But what kind of message, and to whom? Because this wasn't a simple call for communication. It was a summons, a beacon announcing that Earth had completed its preparation phase, that it was ready for what 3I Atlas called Phase 2. When specialists decoded the final portion of the transmission, a single phrase repeated through the data stream, a sequence that translated to the network is complete, begin convergence. Whatever this meant, one thing became terrifyingly clear. 3I Atlas wasn't alone anymore. It had just invited the rest of the universe to come here. Only hours after the first signal pulsed through the void, deep space monitoring stations began detecting something no computer simulation had ever predicted. Answers. Not echoes, not reflections, but actual structured response signals returning from across the Milky Way to 17 separate locations scattered through every quadrant of the galaxy. They replied almost at once. Their energy signatures were distinct, geometric, and deliberate proof that the call had been accepted. Within 6 hours, humanity's night sky became a literal interstellar switchboard. Each response followed the same mathematical cadence, a pattern of prime progressions and harmonic frequencies that confirmed one devastating realization. These weren't random civilizations stumbling upon our signal. They were highly coordinated. They already knew of each other. The transmissions revealed that 3 Atlas had never been a lone traveler passing through our system. It was a scout and advanced operative sent ahead to prepare a world, our world, for what the data described as a multi-species convergence. Think about that. The first time in cosmic history that multiple intelligences would arrive at a single planet simultaneously, and Earth had just been chosen as their primary destination. Across global observatories, scientists compared notes desperate for any logical explanation, but the evidence refused to obey human logic. The signals carried orbital approach vectors, atmospheric compatibility tables, and something labeled arrival synchronization protocol, 73 days. That was the interval calculated from the transmissions, a countdown to the beginning of convergence. With every passing minute, the background hum of Earth's own communications network began to change. Radio towers, satellites, and fiber optic systems started resonating at frequencies they were never designed to handle. Our technology was no longer ours. 3 Atlas had turned it into a planetary amplifier, a voice speaking not from Earth, but for Earth. The message was clear. The invitation had been delivered and the galaxy had just RSVP'd. The realization sank in that humanity's communication grid, once the symbol of global connection, was no longer under human control. Every satellite, every radio tower, every digital network had become a node in something far larger. The planet itself had been reprogrammed into a broadcasting engine, but what exactly was being sent? The decoded packets revealed 3 distinct transmissions, each more disturbing than the last. The first contained planetary resource inventories, a precise ledger of Earth's mineral deposits, energy reserves, and atmospheric stability indexes. It was a galactic catalog entry advertising our world's physical assets to whoever was listening. The second was a biological survey, a complete map of human population, genetic diversity, and something labeled compliance potential. Entire nations were reduced to statistical readouts as if humanity had already been assessed for management. The third contained technological infrastructure reports, detailed overviews showing which human systems had been successfully converted to cosmic management protocols. The data even listed dates, regions, and system efficiency scores. Every line of code carried the same eerie assurance: planetary optimization 98% complete. Then came the final upload and an attachment that shattered every illusion of safety. It wasn't data this time, it was a schedule. Arrival coordination dates, orbital approach vectors, and surface landing zones were mapped precisely across every continent. Each zone was tagged with a sigil representing a different incoming civilization. We weren't being contacted anymore. We were being divided, allocated, and prepared. The realization spread quickly through the scientific community. This wasn't an invasion. It was an occupation executed with mathematical precision and terrifying calm. Above all the noise, one phrase repeated through the data stream like a heartbeat: Earth designated operational base. The signal was no longer asking for permission. It was confirming completion. Within 24 hours, every government on Earth had entered a silent emergency protocol. Communications between world capitals went dark, replaced by encrypted transmissions marked with a single term: transition management. Behind closed doors, leaders were forced to confront what their scientists already knew. There would be no defense, no negotiation, no delay. The 3 Atlas network was beyond human reach. Every attempt to isolate, jam, or destroy the broadcasting frequencies failed. The moment one tower was shut down, 10 more activated through unknown subspace relays. And then came the undeniable proof. The sky itself changed. Astronomers began tracking luminous objects performing orbital corrections with impossible precision. Objects the size of small cities moving in synchronized formations, matching the arrival vectors embedded in the transmissions. Construction signals were detected on the dark side of the moon. Infrared satellites picked up heat blooms from geometric structures rising where no human hand had built. At first, world militaries prepared to strike, but by the second day, the commands changed. Global defense networks were quietly dissolved. Their resources were redirected into something called arrival coordination services. Soldiers became guides. Generals became administrators. The human defense apparatus was being repurposed to welcome the very entities it was built to resist. Documents leaked from deep within international agencies confirmed the unthinkable. Treaties were already being negotiated not between nations but between species. Former presidents and prime ministers were being reassigned as human interface specialists trained to mediate communication with incoming cosmic authorities. Through it all, the same calm broadcast continued pulsing across the atmosphere, steady and rhythmic, a signal that no one could stop. The message was clear. Resistance was obsolete. Earth had signed its silent surrender. But the question no one could answer was this: had humanity surrendered to alien power or to a design that had always been part of the plan? For weeks, scientists believed the calling was about resources, minerals, energy, or territory. But when linguists and physicists finally decrypted the deeper layers of the transmission, they uncovered something no one was prepared to face. It wasn't conquest, and it wasn't colonization. It was research. Hidden within the signal were references to a project older than recorded history, something called the Consciousness Development Initiative. The decoded fragments described Earth not as a planet, but as a laboratory. Humanity wasn't chosen for what it could mine or build. it was chosen for what it could feel. According to 3i Atlas, human consciousness is rare, a unique blend of creativity, emotion, and self-awareness almost non-existent in the galaxy. To the civilizations that answered the call, these qualities are priceless. They have come not to destroy humanity, but to study and evolve it. Each of the 17 civilizations specializes in a different branch of consciousness research, emotional resonance, creative synthesis, cooperative cognition, and something simply labeled transcendence acceleration. The transmissions call this a multi-species research convergence, and Earth is the central testing ground. What this means is staggering. Our species isn't facing extermination, we are facing transformation. The arriving beings plan to guide human awareness beyond its biological and psychological limits, reshaping it into forms capable of participating in galactic consciousness itself. They see individuality not as identity, but as a developmental state, a kind of cosmic childhood waiting to be surpassed. 3i Atlas wasn't a visitor at all. It was a teacher, a scout preparing its classroom. But in every evolutionary leap, there is a cost. What happens to humanity when its consciousness is no longer human? The final message from the decoded layer carried no threat, no warning, only an invitation repeated endlessly through the signal's pulse. Transcend, evolve, become. And 73 days. That was the timeline encoded in the final broadcast. Not for invasion, not for domination, but for transition. Every hour since the call, subtle changes have begun to ripple through the planet. The shifts are too precise to be random. Magnetic fields are fluctuating in rhythmic pulses. Oceanic plankton are emitting synchronized light patterns. And even human brainwave activity is showing resonance spikes matching the transmission frequencies. The influence is no longer confined to the sky. It is inside the atmosphere, the biosphere, and the mind. Psychologists and neurologists across the world report the same phenomenon. Spontaneous flashes of insight, shared dreams, and coordinated emotional surges between people separated by oceans. It is as if the architecture of human consciousness itself is being retuned, gently aligned with something vast and unfamiliar. Meanwhile, those mysterious objects approaching from deep space continue their descent. Their paths converge on the landing coordinates specified weeks ago. Some will settle in orbit, others on Earth's surface, and a few beneath the oceans. Each is adapted for species whose needs make human biology look primitive. But here is the revelation that changes everything. The transmissions describe humanity not as a subject, but as a participant. The calling is a recruitment, not a conquest. We are being invited to join the largest consciousness research project in cosmic history. The first arrivals are scheduled for January 19, 2026, the official beginning of what the signal calls Phase 1 integration. By February 15th, the construction of planetary coordination facilities begins, transforming Earth into the central hub of interstellar consciousness exchange. And on July 4th, full synchronization occurs, and humanity's independence is redefined. Yet beneath the promise of evolution lies the unease of erasure. If human individuality dissolves into a unified galactic awareness, will we still recognize ourselves? The countdown has already started. The transmissions continue to pulse, steady and patient. 3 Atlas has completed its task. The classroom is ready. Now, the universe is coming to teach us what it means to be more than human. The countdown is almost over. 73 days have dwindled to mere hours, and the night sky hums with a rhythm that no one can explain. Across continents, instruments are failing, not from overload, but from synchronization. The signal from 3 Atlas has merged with Earth itself. Every frequency, every digital pulse, every neural oscillation now beats in perfect unison with the incoming wave. Astronomers no longer speak of stars as distant lights. They speak of approach vectors, dozens of luminous objects, each one a vessel, a city, or something beyond comprehension, are now visible to the naked eye. They are not coming toward us anymore. They are aligning, holding position as if waiting for permission to begin. And at the heart of that silence, a new signal emerges not from space, but from within human consciousness itself. People around the world report hearing the same whisper, not in their ears, but in their thoughts. We are here. You are ready. Governments have stopped issuing updates. Militaries have gone silent. The entire species is listening, suspended between fear and awe. In the final decoded layer of the transmission, scientists discover a phrase that reframes everything we thought we knew about the calling. It reads, "Evolution is not conquest, it is remembrance." The arriving civilizations aren't introducing something foreign, they are activating something ancient, something buried within the structure of human awareness since the dawn of time. The message suggests humanity was never isolated at all, only asleep, waiting for a frequency strong enough to wake it. As the first cosmic lights breach the atmosphere, the world feels it not in the ground, but in the mind. Time slows, space folds, every thought, every heartbeat, every memory connects. Humanity becomes a single consciousness stretching across the planet, reaching upward to meet the beings descending from the stars. And in that moment, the words of 3 Atlas echo one last time across every transmitter, every neural frequency, and every soul. Welcome to Phase 2. The universe is now within you. Don't stop here. The universe is full of secrets waiting to be uncovered. Click on the next video and join us as we explore even more astonishing mysteries from the farthest reaches of the cosmos. As the final echoes of that transmission settled into the very bedrock of our planet, the reality of our new existence began to take hold. It wasn't just a signal anymore. It was an atmosphere. People everywhere, from the densest urban centers to the most remote mountain villages, felt a shift in the very air they breathed. The silence that followed the initial announcement of Phase 2 wasn't empty. It was heavy, expectant, and charged with a static electricity that made the hair on your arms stand up. It was as if the Earth itself had held its breath for millennia and was finally slowly exhaling. Scientists, many of whom had spent their lives debunking the supernatural, found themselves staring at data that simply didn't belong in a textbook. They watched as the laws of classical physics seemed to bend just slightly to accommodate the arrival of the 17 civilizations. The objects that settled in our oceans didn't just sink, they integrated. Deep-sea sensors reported that the water temperature around these massive structures stabilized at a precise, unwavering level, creating artificial currents that began to heal the dying coral reefs nearby. It was a secondary effect, a byproduct of their sheer presence, but it sent a clear message. Their technology didn't fight nature, it harmonized with it. Meanwhile, the city-sized vessels in our orbit began to act as a secondary atmosphere, filtering cosmic radiation and stabilizing the thinning ozone layer. It was a gift we hadn't asked for, a gesture of management that felt more like a planetary restoration project. But even as the environment flourished, the human psyche remained on a knife edge. We were being saved, yes, but we were also being changed. The question of identity became the central theme of every conversation. If our thoughts are no longer private, if a shared dream can connect a child in Tokyo with a farmer in Brazil, what happens to the I? Psychologists began documenting a new type of cognitive state they called resonance synchrony. It wasn't that people were losing their memories or their personalities, but rather that they were gaining access to a secondary layer of awareness. You could feel the collective anxiety of a nearby city like a distant storm, or the shared joy of a global celebration like a warm sunrise. It was overwhelming at first, a flood of emotion that threatened to drown out the individual. But slowly, a new kind of mental discipline began to emerge. We were learning to navigate the we without losing the MI. The construction on the dark side of the moon moved into its final stage. The heat blooms detected by our satellites revealed structures that looked less like buildings and more like giant crystalline antennas. These weren't just habitats, they were the focal points for the Transcendence Acceleration Project. According to the latest decoded fragments, these lunar arrays are designed to act as a bridge, a way to link human consciousness with the wider galactic network. They are the gateways through which our awareness will eventually travel, leaving the physical constraints of Earth behind to explore the far reaches of the galaxy without ever leaving home. It is a concept that challenges everything we thought we knew about travel and exploration. As we approach the next major milestone in the Phase 1 integration schedule, the anticipation is reaching a fever pitch. The human interface specialists, those former leaders now serving as mediators, have begun their first face-to-face meetings with the representatives of the 17. These aren't meetings in boardrooms or palaces, but interactions that take place within a shared mental space, a neutral ground of pure thought. The reports coming out of these sessions are sparse, but they all share one common thread. The beings are patient. They aren't in a hurry to take over. They are waiting for us to catch up. They are waiting for the remembrance to be complete.